Richard Miller roared with laughter in his gilded mansion. "I'll give you $100 million if you can open this safe," he said, pointing to the impossible German relic. Sister Lucy, the nun seeking donations, approached with steady hands. What came from her nimble fingers froze the laughter on his face forever. Her full name was Lucy Marie Adams, a 35-year-old nun who dedicated her life to St. Clair's Orphanage, located on the city's east side. That Thursday afternoon, she walked through the streets of the state capital's affluent district, carrying only a small cloth bag and a folder with documents outlining the urgent needs of the institution where she worked. Her steps were firm, but her heart raced as she approached the imposing gate of Richard Miller's mansion, one of the wealthiest men in the state, and known for his difficult personality and unresponsiveness to charity requests. The property stretched for acres of perfectly manicured gardens, with ornamental fountains and imported sculptures that cost more than many families' annual budgets. Sister Lucy took a deep breath before pressing the gilded doorbell, knowing this would likely be her only chance to secure the financial support needed to repair the orphanage's roof, which had been damaged by recent torrential rains. The 40 children living there desperately depended on this repair, as each storm made the situation more dangerous. The butler who answered looked her up and down with evident disdain, hesitating for long seconds before allowing her entry. He led her through hallways decorated with priceless paintings and antique furniture until they reached a sumptuous office on the mansion's second floor. The atmosphere exuded ostentation, with bookshelves filled with volumes that seemed more decorative than actually read, authentic Persian rugs, and a massive mahogany desk that occupied a good portion of the space. Richard Miller was meeting with 5 other equally well-dressed men, all wearing suits that cost more than many people earned in a year. They paused their conversation about real estate investments when Sister Lucy was announced, and everyone's expressions immediately shifted to a mix of irritation and disdain. Richard, a 50-year-old man with perfectly coiffed grey hair and a Swiss watch gleaming on his wrist, slowly rose from his leather armchair. His first reaction was visible annoyance, as if the presence of a simple nun could contaminate the refined environment where he conducted his multi-million-dollar deals. He observed her from head to toe, noting her simple religious habit, her shoes worn from time and use, and the humble posture of the woman who dared to interrupt such an important meeting. The other men present began exchanging mocking glances, some whispering ironic comments about the unusual situation. Sister Lucy, clearly sensing the hostility in the air, remained serene and respectful, hoping Richard would grant her a few minutes to present the orphanage's situation. She had mentally rehearsed the words she would use to appeal to the man's heart, hoping that behind all that wealth, some trace of human compassion still existed. However, Richard's cold and calculating expression showed no inclination to hear any request related to charity or social work. The businessman crossed his arms and stared at her with a sarcastic smile, clearly uncomfortable with the unexpected interruption amidst his important business. His guests, sensing the tense atmosphere, settled deeper into their armchairs, anticipating an interesting scene. The air in the office grew heavy, charged with a palpable tension between the world of material wealth and the realm of spiritual dedication, two worlds that rarely met so directly and conflictually. Richard Miller decided to turn the unexpected encounter into an entertainment opportunity for his guests, as well as quickly rid himself of the nun's unwelcome presence. He walked to a side wall of the office where an ancient safe stood, an imposing piece of German manufacture he had acquired at an antique auction some years prior. The metallic structure, about 5 feet tall, featured ornamental details characteristic of 1940s Germanic precision engineering, with an extremely complex mechanical locking system that defied even the most experienced security specialists. The millionaire lightly tapped the safe's door with his knuckles, producing a metallic sound that echoed through the silent office, and turned to Sister Lucy with a malicious smile. He explained that he had bought the relic for a considerable sum, not for its historical value, but as a personal trophy, as no locksmith, safecracker, or security expert had managed to decipher it since it arrived at his home. The mechanism seemed to have been designed by some engineering genius, with combinations and locking systems that defied conventional logic. With a loud, mocking laugh that echoed through the luxurious office walls, Richard announced his proposal to the nun and everyone present. He said he would give exactly $100 million to the orphanage if Sister Lucy could open that safe in just one attempt, without the help of special tools or equipment. The amount mentioned was absurdly high, far more than any charity could ever dream of receiving, and everyone knew it was an impossible proposition to fulfill. The men present at the meeting began to laugh in chorus, finding the situation hilarious and approving of Richard's cruel creativity in humiliating the unwanted visitor. They commented among themselves on how obvious it was that a simple nun could never accomplish such a feat, especially considering that trained and equipped professionals had already tried without success. The atmosphere in the office transformed into a mix of malicious anticipation and sadistic amusement, with everyone waiting to witness the inevitable failure and consequent humiliation of the nun. Richard continued explaining the rules of his perverse proposal, clarifying that Sister Lucy would be allowed only one attempt, with no possibility of returning another day or seeking external help. He emphasized that, obviously, when she failed miserably, she should immediately leave his property and never return with requests of any kind. The businessman was clearly enjoying the situation, savoring in advance the moment when he could demonstrate the superiority of his world over the simple and naive universe of religious life. The proposal was evidently a cruel trap, designed not with the real intention of helping any charity, but rather to provide entertainment for those present, at the expense of the dignity of a person dedicated to serving others. Richard knew perfectly well that he was offering something impossible, but this only increased his sadistic amusement with the situation. He wanted to see Sister Lucy try and fail miserably, so he could later tell the story as an amusing anecdote at future social gatherings with other equally insensitive millionaires. The guests positioned themselves better to get a privileged view of the spectacle about to begin, some even taking out their cell phones to record what would certainly be a memorable moment of humiliation. The air in the office was charged with malicious anticipation, with everyone expecting the nun's imminent failure and savoring beforehand the embarrassment she would suffer given the impossibility of the proposed task. Richard crossed his arms and awaited Sister Lucy's reaction, expecting to see her give up immediately or accept defeat before even trying. What those arrogant men didn't know was that Sister Lucy carried with her a life story completely different from what her humble appearance suggested. Before embracing religious life, she had been Lucy Marie Adams, one of the most promising mechanical engineers of her generation, graduated with honors from the State University's School of Engineering and specialized in industrial security systems and precision mechanisms. Her master's thesis had been on the evolution of European mechanical locking systems between the 1920s and 1950s, an academic work that led her to deeply study German safes manufactured during and after World War II. During her career years, Lucy had worked for a multinational company that provided consulting services to banks and financial institutions, developing and analyzing highly complex security systems. She possessed exceptional technical knowledge of gears, combination systems, pressure locking mechanisms, and the intricate details of German precision engineering. Her colleagues considered her a true prodigy in the field, capable of understanding and deciphering systems that other engineers deemed impossible to unravel. The radical transformation in her life had occurred 8 years prior, when a devastating family tragedy completely changed her priorities and perspectives on existence. Her younger brother, a brilliant 25-year-old finishing medical school, had lost his life in a traffic accident caused by a drunk driver in an imported luxury car. The pain of loss was intensified by the discovery that the person responsible for the accident was the son of a millionaire businessman who used his influence and money to drastically reduce the punishment, leaving Lucy's family without adequate justice. That traumatic experience led Lucy to deeply question the values of a society where money and power allowed people to escape the consequences of their irresponsible actions. She realized that all her dedication to engineering and technological development was ultimately primarily serving to protect and increase the wealth of those who already had much, while simple, hard-working people remained vulnerable and unprotected. The feeling that her career was contributing to perpetuating an unjust system became unbearable. After months of deep reflection and searching for a more meaningful purpose for her existence, Lucy made the radical decision to completely abandon her promising career and dedicate herself entirely to religious service. She sold all her material possessions, donated the money to charities, and entered the convent of the Missionary Sisters of Charity, where she found a new way to apply her intelligence and skills for the benefit of those most in need of help and protection. In the 8 years that followed her conversion, Sister Lucy had never mentioned her academic and professional past to any of her sisters in the congregation. She considered that phase of her life to be behind her, and that now her only commitment was to serve God through caring for orphans and the needy. However, her technical knowledge remained intact in her memory, like dormant skills that were never completely lost, merely awaiting the right moment to be used again. As she observed the German safe that Richard had pointed to with such pride and disdain, Sister Lucy immediately recognized the model's distinctive characteristics, recalling having studied similar examples during her academic research. She knew exactly who the manufacturer was, the approximate decade of production, and, most importantly, she understood the technical peculiarities of the locking systems used at that time by the German high-security industry. Her heart began to beat faster, not from nervousness, but from a technical familiarity she hadn't experienced in years. Sister Lucy approached the antique safe with deliberate and confident steps, causing some surprise among the men present who expected to see her hesitate or show insecurity in the face of the seemingly impossible challenge. Her serene and confident posture contrasted completely with the mocking atmosphere that had taken over the luxurious office. She gracefully knelt before the imposing metallic structure and began to carefully examine every detail of the lock and external mechanism, gently touching the surface with the delicacy of someone who knows exactly what they are looking for. Richard's guests began exchanging intrigued glances as they expected the nun to randomly spin the combination dial or make desperate, technically unfounded movements. Instead, she appeared to be conducting a methodical and professional analysis, observing specific construction details that would go unnoticed by people without specialized knowledge. Her hands lightly touched the edges of the mechanism, the decorative reliefs, and the manufacturer's marks with the precision of someone who knew exactly what information she was seeking. Sister Lucy discreetly located the small manufacturer's identification plate, partially oxidized by time, but still legible to anyone who knew where to look. She mentally read the technical information engraved on the metal and immediately recalled the studies she had conducted on that specific model during her master's thesis. It was a Zimmermann and Söhne model safe, manufactured in Düsseldorf between 1943 and 1944, known for the exceptional complexity of its locking system that combined mechanical and mathematical elements in a specific sequence. As she examined the technical details, Sister Lucy calmly explained that this type of safe had been developed during the war to protect important documents for German companies, using a combination system based not only on numbers, but also on sequences of pressure and timing that required specific technical knowledge to decipher. Her precise and technical explanation began to generate discomfort among those present, who did not expect to hear such a detailed and professional analysis from a simple nun. Richard Miller frowned, realizing that something was different from what he had planned for his humiliating charade. The way Sister Lucy spoke about the mechanism demonstrated knowledge that went far beyond what would be expected of any ordinary person, let alone a nun who should only be concerned with prayers and charity work. He began to feel slightly uneasy, but still maintained his confidence that, regardless of any theoretical knowledge she might possess, opening that safe would be virtually impossible without the proper tools and equipment. The other men present stopped laughing and began paying genuine attention to what was happening, as the confidence and technical knowledge demonstrated by the nun were creating an atmosphere of real expectation instead of the cruel amusement they had anticipated. Some of them began to lean forward in their armchairs, intrigued by the remote yet seemingly real possibility that this simple woman might actually know what she was doing. Sister Lucy continued her technical analysis, identifying the specific points where she needed to apply pressure and the sequences of movements the German mechanism required to be unlocked. She explained that engineers of that era frequently used mathematical principles based on Fibonacci sequences or geometric progressions to create combinations that were both secure and logically organized. Her detailed technical explanation was gradually transforming the atmosphere of mockery into a mix of genuine curiosity and growing apprehension from the spectators unexpectedly involved in that technical challenge. With precise and calculated movements, Sister Lucy began to apply her technical knowledge to the German safe's mechanism, demonstrating an impressive familiarity with security systems that left everyone present completely perplexed. She explained that Zimmermann and Cerner engineers had developed a hybrid system that combined a traditional numeric sequence with specific pressure points that had to be activated at exact moments during the main dial's rotation. This type of mechanism had been specifically designed to resist forced opening attempts or superficial analysis by unauthorized persons. Her fingers moved over the combination dial with the delicacy and precision of an experienced musician playing a complex instrument, applying exactly the necessary pressure with each rotational movement. She mentioned that she had studied dozens of similar examples during her academic research, including some that had been donated to universities after being abandoned by companies that could no longer access their contents. Each model in the Zimmermann series possessed specific characteristics based on the year of manufacture and the code of the engineer responsible for final assembly. The nun identified and explained the discrete marks engraved on the mechanism's outer ring, small symbols that indicated the mathematical sequence used as the basis for the main combination. She mentally decoded the numbers corresponding to the manufacturing date and the engineer's identification code, information that German manufacturers of the time used as component elements of the final unlocking formula. Her detailed knowledge of the numbering patterns used by the German security industry was even impressing Richard, who began to realize he had completely underestimated his unexpected visitor. As she methodically worked on the mechanism, Sister Lucy shared fascinating historical information about how safes of that era had been developed to protect not only material assets, but also strategic documents during an extremely turbulent period of European history. Many of them still contained business records, commercial contracts, and correspondence that could reveal interesting aspects of commercial operations during the war years. This historical context added an unexpected educational dimension to the situation, transforming what was supposed to be a humiliation into a true lesson in history and engineering. The men present in the office began to communicate through worried glances, as the nun's demonstration of technical and historical knowledge was far beyond what any person without specialized training could possess. Richard Miller felt increasingly uncomfortable, realizing that his attempt at humiliation was transforming into something completely different from what he had planned. The arrogant confidence he had displayed minutes earlier began to give way to a growing apprehension about the outcome of the challenge he himself had proposed. Sister Lucy continued explaining the technical principles involved in the unlocking process, mentioning that German systems of that era frequently used sequences based on specific mathematical constants, such as the golden ratio or derivatives of the Fibonacci sequence, adapted to the security needs of each particular client. She demonstrated how to identify reference points on the mechanism that indicated where each number in the sequence should be positioned, and how to apply the correct pressure to activate the internal components of the locking system. Her detailed technical explanation was revealing a level of expertise that completely transformed the perception of those present about who this woman in a simple religious habit truly was. The atmosphere in the office had changed dramatically, shifting from mockery and cruelty to a mix of technical admiration and growing nervousness from those who had completely underestimated the skills and knowledge of the unexpected visitor who was about to surprise everyone in an absolutely extraordinary way. The tension in the luxurious office progressively increased as Sister Lucy continued her meticulous work on the complex German mechanism, demonstrating a technical expertise that left everyone present in a state of growing apprehension and involuntary admiration. Her movements became even more precise and confident, showing that she was not trying to guess the combination through trial and error, but rather applying specific knowledge and scientific methodology to decipher a security system that had defied specialists for years. Absolute silence took over the room, interrupted only by the soft metallic sounds produced by the delicate adjustments she made to the mechanism. The men who minutes earlier had been roaring with laughter at the situation now watched every movement with concentrated attention, realizing they were witnessing something far beyond their initial expectations. Some of them had put away their cell phones, realizing that this would no longer be a simple, humiliating charade to be recorded as entertainment, but rather a genuinely impressive technical event. Richard Miller nervously paced the office, his hands visibly sweating as he watched the nun work with a competence he had never imagined possible. He began mentally calculating the financial implications of his impulsive proposal, realizing for the first time that the $100 million offered as a cruel joke might actually have to be paid. His facial expression had completely transformed, losing all initial arrogance and showing genuine concern about the outcome of the situation he had created for his own amusement. Sister Lucy proceeded to explain the final steps of the unlocking process, mentioning that German engineers had incorporated a final verification system that required a specific sequence of rotational movements combined with pressures at strategic points on the safe's external structure. She demonstrated how to locate these points through touch, identifying slight variations in the metal's temperature that indicated the presence of active internal mechanisms. Her knowledge of metallurgy and thermal expansion of materials was being applied in a practical and impressive way. Richard's guests began to whisper among themselves, speculating about the true identity of this woman, who obviously possessed a technical background far superior to what her appearance suggested. Some of them were industrial sector businessmen and recognized the depth of the knowledge demonstrated, realizing they were in the presence of someone with advanced university education and significant practical experience in precision engineering. Curiosity about the nun's past began to outweigh interest in the outcome of the safe challenge. As Sister Lucy approached the final stages of the unlocking process, she explained that German systems of that era frequently included security mechanisms against incorrect opening attempts, which could permanently lock the safe if wrong sequences were entered repeatedly. This additional information demonstrated not only her knowledge of how to open the mechanism, but also her understanding of the risks involved and the necessary precautions to avoid irreversible damage to the locking system. The atmosphere in the office had become almost solemn, with everyone realizing they were witnessing something extraordinary and unexpected. The air of superiority and disdain that had characterized the beginning of the meeting was completely replaced by a mix of technical admiration, genuine curiosity, and growing apprehension about the consequences of that impressive demonstration of professional competence. Richard looked alternately at the safe and at his guests, perceiving on their faces the same perplexity and concern he himself was feeling at that decisive moment. Sister Lucy took a deep breath and announced that she was ready to execute the final sequence of movements that should completely unlock the German mechanism, assuming her technical analysis and mathematical calculations were correct, as all her academic and professional experience indicated. The decisive moment had arrived, and Sister Lucy positioned her hands on the mechanism with the tranquility of someone who possesses absolute confidence in her technical knowledge and practical experience accumulated over years of specialized study. She calmly announced that she would now execute the final sequence of movements, starting with the pressure adjustments at the strategic points she had identified during her preliminary analysis, followed by the insertion of the numeric combination based on the mathematical codes discreetly engraved on the safe's structure by the German engineers responsible for its manufacture. The silence in the office became almost deafening, with everyone present literally holding their breath as they watched every millimeter movement of the nun's skillful hands on the complex mechanism. Richard Miller had completely stopped pacing and strategically positioned himself where he could have a perfect view of the entire process, his hands clasped behind his back in a desperate attempt to hide the growing nervousness that gripped his entire body. For the first time in many years, he found himself in a situation where his money and power had no influence over the final outcome. The guests present had unconsciously leaned forward in their leather armchairs, some of them gripping the arms of their chairs tightly, as if watching a decisive sporting event where millions were at stake. The tension was palpable and contagious, creating an atmosphere of almost unbearable expectation that contrasted drastically with the climate of mockery and cruelty that had characterized the beginning of that unexpected encounter between seemingly incompatible worlds. Sister Lucy began to insert the first numeric sequence, turning the main dial with precise and calculated movements, each position achieved with the exactness of someone who perfectly understands the technical parameters involved in the process. She explained in a whisper that she was using a combination derived from the mechanism's serial number, converted through a specific mathematical formula that German engineers had developed to create unique and unbreakable codes for each unit produced during that turbulent historical period. The delicate metallic sounds produced by the internal adjustments of the mechanism began to create an almost musical rhythm, indicating that the locking components were responding correctly to the sequences entered by the experienced nun. Richard felt his heart race dangerously when he realized that those sounds were different from the random noises he had heard during the failed attempts of the specialists he had previously hired. There was something definitively different and promising in the way the mechanism was reacting to Sister Lucy's precise, technical commands. As she proceeded with the intermediate steps of the unlocking process, applying specific pressures at strategic points while continuing the calculated rotations, a distinct mechanical sound began to echo from within the safe structure. It was a noise none of those present had heard before, a kind of gradual release of internal components that were being systematically unlocked through the correct sequence of technical commands applied with the precision of delicate surgery. The final adjustments were executed with impressive confidence, Sister Lucy demonstrating that each movement had been carefully planned and based on solid knowledge of the engineering principles used by German manufacturers of that specific era. She mentioned that she was reaching the critical moment where the final verification mechanisms would be activated, requiring a perfect combination of timing, pressure, and positioning for the locking system to be completely released as originally designed by the responsible engineers. The tension reached its peak when a definitive and conclusive metallic sound echoed from within the safe, indicating that something significant had occurred in the internal mechanism. All eyes were fixed on the antique structure's door, anxiously waiting to discover if that sound represented the complete success of the technical operation or just another intermediate step in the complex unlocking process that was being executed with absolutely extraordinary and unexpected competence. A final, decisive metallic click echoed through the silent office, followed by the unmistakable sound of internal mechanisms releasing after decades of forced immobility. Sister Lucy smiled serenely and, with a smooth and deliberate movement, pulled open the heavy door of the German safe, which swung completely open, revealing its dark interior that had remained sealed for so many years. The sound of the old hinge working perfectly after such a long time created a moment of absolute suspense that left everyone present in a state of total shock and disbelief. Richard Miller felt his legs weaken and had to discreetly brace himself against the edge of his mahogany desk to avoid losing his balance completely in the face of what he had just witnessed. His face had lost all color, transforming into a mask of disbelief and financial horror, as the reality of what had happened began to penetrate his mind, still stunned by the technical impossibility that had just materialized before his incredulous eyes. The $100 million he had offered as a cruel joke now represented a real and unavoidable debt. The guests present remained in absolute silence for long seconds, their eyes alternating between the open safe and the serene figure of the nun who had accomplished the impossible with an ease that defied any logical explanation based on their preconceived perceptions of a simple nun's abilities. Some of them began to applaud spontaneously, recognizing that they had witnessed an absolutely exceptional technical demonstration that few specialized professionals could achieve. The safe's interior revealed an impressive collection of perfectly preserved historical documents, including commercial contracts from the 1940s, business correspondence in German, and some gold coins that had retained their original luster after decades of hermetic storage. Sister Lucy explained that many safes of that era contained valuable records that could hold significant historical importance for museums or academic institutions interested in researching commercial operations during the World War II period. Richard remained practically paralyzed, staring fixedly at the open safe, as if seeing an impossible mirage that his rational mind refused to accept as reality. He had completely underestimated that simple woman, judging her based only on her humble appearance and religious vocation, without imagining that behind the religious habit resided one of the most brilliant minds he had ever encountered in his entire life, of diverse business dealings and professional relationships. The transformation in the office atmosphere was dramatic and instantaneous, shifting from initial mockery to genuine respect and technical admiration that none of those present could hide or disguise. Sister Lucy had demonstrated that a person's true worth cannot be measured by their external appearance or apparent social status, but rather by the depth of their knowledge, the quality of their character, and their ability to apply their skills constructively and surprisingly when circumstances demand it. The millionaire businessman finally managed to partially regain his voice and, with a trembling and visibly shaken tone, acknowledged that Sister Lucy had perfectly fulfilled all the terms of the impossible challenge he had proposed as a form of humiliation. He publicly admitted, before all his guests, that he had been completely defeated by someone he had grotesquely and unjustifiably underestimated, and that he would now have to honor his word and pay the promised amount. Regardless of the personal financial implications this would represent for his businesses and personal assets. The revelation of Sister Lucy's true identity and capabilities prompted a profound and immediate transformation in Richard Miller's personality and perspective. For the first time in his adult life, he found himself in a situation where his arrogance and prejudices were exposed so clearly and irrefutably that there was no possibility of denial or rationalization. He remained silent for several minutes, mentally processing not only the financial implications of his impulsive promise, but primarily the emotional and psychological impact of having been intellectually humiliated by someone he had judged inferior based on superficial and prejudiced criteria. His guests observed the scene with a mix of fascination and discomfort, realizing they were witnessing a moment of rare emotional vulnerability from a man known for his relentless toughness in business and personal relationships. Some of them began to reflect on their own attitudes and prejudices, questioning how many times they had judged people based solely on external appearances or apparent socio-economic conditions, without considering the possibility that extraordinary talents might be hidden under unforeseen circumstances. Richard slowly approached Sister Lucy, who had respectfully closed the safe after briefly examining its interesting historical contents, and for the first time during their entire encounter, he looked directly into her eyes with an expression of genuine respect and involuntary admiration. He offered sincere apologies for his initial disrespectful and cruel attitude, admitting that he had tried to humiliate her based on unjustifiable prejudices and ignorance of her true identity and exceptional technical capabilities. His voice visibly trembled as he expressed his profound regret. The nun responded with the serenity and compassion characteristic of her spiritual vocation, explaining that she had immediately forgiven his initial attitude because she understood that many people act based on prejudices and limitations of perspective that are part of the imperfect human condition. She mentioned that her life experience had taught her that moments of forced humility frequently represent valuable opportunities for personal and spiritual growth, transforming seemingly hardened individuals into more compassionate and socially responsible people. The millionaire businessman publicly declared that he would fully honor his promise of $100 million, but asked permission to learn more about the work done at St. Clair's orphanage before simply transferring the amount. He explained that this experience had fundamentally modified his understanding of human value and social responsibility, awakening a genuine interest in contributing more significantly and lastingly to causes related to protecting vulnerable people and developing educational opportunities for youth at social risk. Sister Lucy graciously accepted the invitation to present the orphanage's programs and needs, explaining that the institution served 40 children in situations of family abandonment, offering not only shelter and food, but also quality education and vocational training programs to prepare the youth for productive and independent adult lives. She mentioned that she had always dreamed of expanding the educational programs to include advanced technical courses that could reveal and develop special talents among the children under their care. Their conversation naturally evolved into a discussion about how to establish a lasting partnership that went beyond a simple financial donation, including the creation of innovative educational programs where Richard could apply his business experience to develop real opportunities for personal and professional growth for the young people served by the institution. They began to plan initiatives together that would combine financial resources with business mentorship, creating a model of social responsibility that could serve as an example for other companies and institutions interested in effectively contributing to social transformation through education and the development of individual talents. 3 months after that transformative meeting, St. Clair's Orphanage had become a national example of educational innovation and social development, thanks to the extraordinary partnership established between Sister Lucy and Richard Miller, who had discovered in strategic philanthropy a purpose far more satisfying than simply accumulating personal wealth. The businessman had fully honored his financial promise, but more importantly, he had become personally involved in creating advanced educational programs that revealed and developed special talents among the children and adolescents served by the religious institution. The orphanage's new technical training center offered specialized courses in various areas of engineering, computer programming, business administration, and other modern professional skills, taught by qualified volunteers whom Richard had recruited from his business contacts. Sister Lucy used her academic background to coordinate the most advanced technical programs, discovering that several children possessed exceptional aptitudes for exact sciences and technology that would never have been identified and developed under conventional educational circumstances. The story of the impossible German safe opening had quietly spread among the city's business circles, serving as a powerful example of the dangers of social prejudice and the importance of recognizing that extraordinary talents can be hidden in the most unlikely and underestimated individuals. Many other businessmen began to question their own attitudes and prejudices, resulting in a gradual movement towards greater social awareness and community responsibility among the local economic elite. Richard had become a fundamentally different man, more humble and aware of his social responsibilities, dedicating a significant portion of his personal time to volunteer work at the orphanage and individual mentorship of young people with special potential for entrepreneurship and innovation. He had discovered that using his experience and resources to transform young lives provided a personal satisfaction far superior to what he had experienced for decades, focused exclusively on accumulating material wealth and social power. The businessman's personal transformation had also positively influenced his family and professional relationships, making him a more empathetic and generous person in all areas of his life. His own children, who had grown up in an environment of extreme privilege, began to regularly participate in the orphanage's activities, developing a deeper understanding of social responsibility and the importance of using personal privileges to benefit needy communities. Sister Lucy continued coordinating the institution's religious and educational activities, but now with resources and technical support that allowed her to undertake projects that were once distant dreams. She had found a perfect way to combine her spiritual vocation with her technical expertise, creating innovative educational programs that prepared vulnerable youth for promising careers in advanced technological and scientific fields, breaking cycles of poverty through high-quality specialized education. The German safe had been donated to a local industrial history museum, where it became part of an exhibition on the evolution of mechanical security systems, accompanied by a plaque that briefly told the story of how an extraordinary nun had demonstrated that true human worth transcends superficial appearances and social prejudices. The exhibition became one of the museum's most visited, inspiring visitors of all ages to reflect on the importance of not judging people based solely on external criteria, and to recognize that exceptional talents can be hidden in the most unexpected circumstances of everyday life. Years later, when Richard Miller looked back and reflected on that day that had completely changed the course of his existence, he always remembered with profound gratitude the exact moment when his arrogance met genuine humility, and how that unexpected collision between seemingly opposite worlds had resulted in the discovery of a purpose far greater than any material fortune could provide. He understood that true wealth was not in safes full of gold, but in the ability to open hearts hardened by greed and transform them into instruments of compassion and social justice. Sister Lucy continued her quiet and dedicated work, now with abundant resources to realize all the educational projects she had always dreamed of implementing. She never boasted of her technical skills or her exceptional academic background, maintaining the characteristic humility of someone who understands that all personal talents should be used exclusively to serve others and glorify the divine goodness that dwells in the human heart when it truly opens to unconditional love. St. Clair's orphanage had become a national model of educational excellence and social transformation, receiving visitors from all over the country interested in replicating its innovative programs in their own communities. Dozens of young people trained by its advanced technical programs had secured scholarships to prestigious universities or started promising careers in technology companies, definitively breaking the cycles of poverty and abandonment that had marked their difficult childhoods. The most powerful lesson of that extraordinary story continued to echo in the memory of all who knew it. We should never judge a person's worth by their external appearance or apparent social status, for the greatest human treasures are often hidden under the simplest and most improbable circumstances. The key to discovering these treasures is not in complex German safes, but in the sincere willingness to open our hearts to recognize the dignity and extraordinary potential that exists in every human being, regardless of their origin or the clothes they wear. Thus, what began as a cruel attempt at humiliation transformed into one of the most beautiful stories of redemption and mutual discovery, proving that love and compassion always triumph over arrogance and prejudice when they find hearts willing to transform.